What's going on, guys? Jeff back with another video. If you watched my last What's in the Shop, you know that I acquired a lot of G.I. Joe Adventure Team ATVs in various states of disrepair. So I finally got around to taking one of those ATVs and restoring it and customizing it with some of my decals as well as a new paint deco. So in today's video, we're going to be taking one of those ATVs and I'm going to show you how I basically created this nice orange ATV with my custom decals out of it. And at the end of the video, I'll be putting this for sale on eBay along with another ATV that I did a custom of. So without further ado, let's go back to the shop and see how I restored this old Adventure Team ATV. What's going on, guys? Well, a while back, I was fortunate enough to get a lot of Adventure Team vehicles, 5 in all, in various forms of disrepair. This one here being the worst of the lot. You can see it's got some definite played with condition going on. A lot of sun fade. It's got some broken pieces. The body itself has cracks. Decent amount of damage to the whole vehicle. So the plan is to restore this baby back to its original glory, in a sense. I'm actually going to restore it, repaint it a new color, and decal it. And we're going to see how it turns out. So say right now it's in pretty bad shape. So the first thing I'm going to do is to disassemble it. I've already taken it apart, obviously, but disassemble the wheels. So I'm going to just take a razor knife and work along that glue line on the 2 wheels that are still intact. Then pop these bracket pieces that hold the wheels in place off, freeing up the wheels. And then we'll take a look at the damaged areas. I'll probably give it a good washing and tide free and clear and start to repair the cracked areas. I might use a little bit of mill putt to repair the areas where there's a little section loss of the plastic. The plastic's pretty oxidized, actually, since it spent so much time, I'm assuming, in the sun, that it's made the plastic a little bit brittle. But I think if we can get it all cleaned up, get the areas that are cracked repaired, then get a nice coat of prime on it and a few coats of paint, I think that'll give it some structural integrity. So I'll pause the video and I'll get to work on trying to pop these wheel housings loose. And then we'll move on from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to restore this G.I. Joe Adventure Team vehicle. Okay, welcome back, guys. So I've got the ATV all washed up. Put it in the bathtub. Did some tide free and clear. Got her all cleaned up. The reason I use the tide free and clear, I think I mentioned in previous videos, is it's not very harsh and it does a really good job of getting all the oils and dirt off the plastic. It doesn't damage it at all, so I use that on almost everything. So you can see here, I went ahead and I removed the pieces of plastic that hold the 3 axles in place. So that's been removed. The axles themselves are a little damaged, but it's okay. I'll glue it all back together and sand them a little bit and they'll work just like they used to. The body has several small hairline cracks in it. As you can see here, there's one right here. There's a crack here. And there's a few others, just small little hairline cracks. And what I'll do with those is I will take some Gorilla Super Glue and fix all those. And then I'll give this a sanding with some really fine grit sandpaper. I'll sand the whole thing off and give it a primer coat with that Rust-Oleum gray primer that I used on some other projects you've seen in the past. I also cleaned up the control seat, I guess cockpit seat or whatever you want to call it. You can see it's just got a lot of wear from sitting out in the sun, but that's okay. We'll leave it the way it is. Now another problem I noticed is this wheel here is a little bent. And this portion right here has got a little wear, so it doesn't like to stay on the wheel very well. So I will file a notch in each of these shaft components and put an O-ring around it that'll hold the wheel in place. So we won't have to worry about that wheel popping out either. We'll get to that at a later date. Now, let me put all this back in here, and I kind of want to show you what the end result of this project I hope to be. Let me set this right here. Sorry for the shaky camera work. It's just me, and I don't have a great setup like all these super awesome YouTube guys. Just a dude in his workshop. So here is my custom, and my voice really cracked there. I think I'm going through puberty. So here's my custom ATV I use in a lot of my stories, photo stories. This is actually one of the first custom things I ever decaled with the method that I use. And it turned out really good. Actually, this is what I tested my decal method on, was this ATV here I had sitting around for a long time. This is actually, I had an old troubleshooter hull or chassis, body, whatever you want to call it. And I popped the wheels out, and I had a really badly damaged ATV. It was cracked all over, but the wheels were still good, so I swapped them out and took this troubleshooter and painted it this color. It's a nice tan. Did this a long time ago. I think I have a decal from Mark, Patches of Pride, back in the day. And I added these decals in the back here. Put storage. I called it my Mammoth ATV just because I wanted to kind of customize it a little bit. It turned out great. What I forgot to do a long time ago on this was to add the old rivet. So I still need to do that at some point. I'll probably do that at the same time when I do this project here. So anyways, I think what I'm going to do with this one here is I'm going to paint it, and I'm actually going to decal it just like this. G.I. Joe Adventure Team vehicle. I'll probably put the storage on the back. I'll more than likely add the taillights, probably like this, to it. And then a control panel like so here with a few other items. I won't obviously do the Mammoth because I don't think you guys really want that. So this is kind of like a preview of what this one here is going to look like. So we'll go ahead and I'll fix the cracked portions on this one here. And we'll prime it. I'll sand it. I'll fix the cracked portions and sand it, and we'll come back and I'll show you what that looks like, and I'll show you what kind of paint I'm going to use. So we'll pause the video and we'll come back. Hey guys, what's up? So I went ahead and started fixing the cracks in this old ATV. You can see here I've glued some of those cracked areas. Started to sand on them. What I glue it with, I know I mentioned gluing it with some Gorilla Glue, but I remembered as I was doing these projects that I used styrene plastic weld. It actually works really good on this old vintage plastic. So it bonds way better than super glue because it just kind of welds the plastic back together. So, and then I've started the process of sanding it. I just use I don't know if I can look in here, 220 to kind of knock down the bumps. Then I finish it off with, I believe that's 2000 maybe. Oh hell, I don't know. Anyways, I use a really fine sandpaper to knock that down. So we'll get that wrapped up, get those parts sanded, and then we'll prime it. Then moving on to the portions that keep the wheel axles in place. As you can see, they're a little busted from removing those axles, and I'll use the plastic weld on those and get those all fixed and sanded and primed as well. So the next step is priming. I'll come back and show you guys what that looks like. And then after that, we will do the paint, which is going to be this fire orange satin color. So it's going pretty well. Alright guys, welcome back. So as you can see, these bodies are primed. Not too bad. I didn't get a lot of coverage on it, but it doesn't have to be perfect because this is paint plus primer. And I'm going to give these at least 2 coats, so it's not a big deal that I missed a few spots. But you can see the areas where the cracks were pretty well coated. I think when you get a few coats of paint on there, you'll not even notice. I've repaired the pieces that go and hold the axles in place. So we're ready now. I'm going to let this cure for a couple days, and then we're going to apply this pretty sweet fire orange color. So we'll go ahead and do that. Then I can decide while that's all curing on how I'm going to finish this out, what type of decal I want to make for it, and whether I want to have a cockpit decal like the troubleshooter had. I'm kind of toying with that idea. I got a few ideas. So when we come back, this will have a coat of the fire orange on it, and we'll discuss future decaling technique and what I want to put on it. Welcome back guys. So we've got this baby all painted. As you can see here, the body is all done. That orange turned out really, really good on this old ATV body. Looks nice, pops sharp. I got the pieces that hold the axles in place. Now, something I was going to mention to you guys, Jim Edinger does a reproduction axle for this ATV, but they're like 20 bucks a piece, I think. So I was tempted to buy a reproduction axle and throw it on here to fix it, but I'm actually not going to do that. So, you know, if I end up selling this and somebody doesn't like the fact that how I fix this axle, you can obviously take it apart and get your own axle. But I'm going to make this work. It's just my plan. But anyways, so the next step in this whole process is the decaling. So I've got some really cool stuff planned for this control console and seat. So what we'll do is we'll pause the video and I'll come back and I'll show you the console and the seat, what I'm planning on doing with it, or what I've done to it actually. I'm just going to go ahead and do it and bring it back and show you. Then we'll decal this, and then we'll go and I'll figure out, I've got an idea how I'm going to fix this axle, and we'll get to wrapping this thing up and come back with some final thoughts. And like I said, when this is all done, I'm not only going to probably post this to eBay, but I think I'm going to also sell my other tan one as well. So I just have too many ATVs, and I know a lot of people have asked about some of these, so that's what's going on. We'll be back in a bit. All right guys, welcome back. So we've got the decals almost done. Go ahead and point out some things. So I did a cool repro decal with a first aid kit, and then here, this is the old Armatron keypad, not Armatron, I'm sorry, the Big Track keypad that was on the back of the Big Track vehicle from the late 70s, early 80s. So I shrunk it down as a control panel for each of the control handles on the ATV, and I put a cool distressed Adventure Team vehicle decal and then G.I. Joe on these sides. So that's what I'm going to do with this. I think it's pretty cool. When I get these peeled off, we'll take a look at them, and when I get the final seal coat on the whole thing, I'll show you it all, and then we'll get this thing assembled. But I've also planned here, I added a fuel gauge and a power gauge. I'm going to fill these voids with epoxy resin to make them look like lenses, and I'll probably end up painting that as well, so, and doing the same thing there. So I'm going to do that. So when we come back, this should all be done, and close to the final product will be here. So we'll come back here in a little while after I do all that. Okay guys, so we're back. We're all finished up with the decals. As you can see, go ahead here and so I did a distressed decal similar to my other ATV on the front. Put the G.I. Joe logo on the side. It's just a real basic, simple decal. Nice nice AT logo there. And then on the inside, I put the epoxy resin on the gauges. Turned out pretty good. I actually like the way it turned out. It's kind of neat. Then obviously the Big Track control parts there. So the next steps to get an eyelet kit and put a brand new eyelet in here on the hitch. I'll be doing that as well. You can see I added a first aid kit to the inside. Just some nice little touch-ups to the basic AT vehicle style. Now, the problem I'm running into with this is these old wheels have seen a lot of action, so some of the axles, the wheels kind of want to pop off. So I'm at a kind of a crossroads here. Like, I don't want to, glue it all back together and have substandard axles, but then again, I don't want to spend $60 on brand new axles. So what I might end up doing is taking one of my other, let's walk over here to my workbench, one of my workbenches. Take one of these other ATVs and pop the axles out of it and use those on this project, since I'm going to be putting this on eBay. I mean, the only other option would be to sell it with just the wheels, and then the person could buy the axles off of Etsy. But I don't want to do that either, because that's just kind of a, I'm not comfortable with that. So I'm probably going to pop the axles off another one and then keep all these wheels and then buy myself some axles at some point in time in case I decide to do another custom ATV for myself. So that's kind of the direction I'm leaning at right now. So when we come back, I'll actually take the Mod Podge I always use and I'll coat the whole thing to seal it up. I always like to do that with a lot of my projects. And we'll talk about these axles some more. And hopefully I'll have the eyelet kit in from Amazon to put a new eyelet in that one and my other ATV as well, which I never did. And then we'll basically have this wrapped up and we'll have a few final thoughts. What's going on, guys? Well, here we are. The completed ATV restoration. Got some rivets, or eyelets, I guess. Added it to the tail hitch. As you can see, the cockpit is completed. Got the cool first aid kit decal, the fuel gauge, and a power gauge, the Big Track control keypad. Added some lights to to the front here, as well as taillights to the back. So this is all finished up. It was a pretty quick, pretty cool restoration. I enjoyed doing this. This is the second one I've done of an ATV, so I learned a lot of lessons with the first one, being this one here. This was my first one I did several years ago. This is how I perfected my decaling technique, as I mentioned earlier. And I added decals to it back in the day too. It's slightly different than this orange one here, but they both turned out really well. I had to add a screw here because this particular ATV, the seat was warped, and it was causing this part here to move around a bunch, the cockpit seat. So I added a screw here to secure that. It's also got, it still has a hairline crack in the plastic there, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. So yeah, man, this is exciting. I enjoy doing these. They're fun to take on as a quick custom project. And you know, my advice to anybody who's starting out in customizations or anything of that nature is to try an ATV project. They're really easy to do, and you can kind of, you know, test out your chops on doing different methods of decaling and whatnot. Now, there's a few differences in this one that's in the orange one that are different from the tan one I did. As you can see, this is actually a Patches of Pride cockpit decal, which is very detailed. Mark did amazing work when he did all these. This is just a portion I did on my printer, so the graphics aren't as detailed and vibrant as this one, but that's okay. I don't mind that. I mean, it is what it is. So there you have it. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to put both of these on eBay. So if you're interested in some custom ATVs, these both will be available probably around, say this video drops at 6:30 in the morning, probably around 9:30 or 10. I'll post these to my eBay page, jshare923t. And feel free, if you want one of these, to bid on it. I think shipping's going to be around 20 bucks for these, because you know, shipping's actually gone up in price quite a bit. So sorry about that. I wish I could control shipping prices, but I can't. The hardest part's finding a box for these. But anyways, all that's completely irrelevant to this video and tutorial how I did this ATV restoration. So, of course, you know, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did doing it. Like and subscribe to the page. Hit the notification icon. Please share these videos on your various social media platforms. And I appreciate all the cool feedback that you guys have been giving me. And I'm just accumulating a lot more followers, and I'm really excited about sharing more of my customs with you guys. So until next time, cheers.